What is up, YouTube? Shredded Otaku here. And today we're going to be talking about, well, a lot really. First and foremost, guys, today's video is sponsored by none other than Death Wish Coffee. Death Wish Coffee is, I'm just kidding. I'm not cool enough to be sponsored by Death Wish Coffee yet. But I will say this is probably a big contributing factor as to how I'm able to record this right now, have the energy that is. This is some freaking good coffee, man. I just throwing that out there. But yeah, anyway, what I was gonna say was that we got a lot to talk about, guys. And that is because I have been on a extended hiatus from doing this whole YouTube channel, even though I was so gassed to get it started initially. And I'm not gonna apologize for that because life happens, all these things. And to be quite frank, my life has been extremely colorful, to put it mildly, in the last few months. But I've kind of gone through the motions of that. I've moved past a lot of things, and I feel like a new otaku. I really do. So right away, guys, I just wanted to make a video to go over some of the things that I've purchased, collected, and have been playing recently. Also, some things that I've been excited for, and I'm super just juiced to be seeing in the gaming world coming up pretty soon here. And some things that are a little further out as well. Then at the end, I will probably take a moment to just give some insight as to not what has been going on in my life in terms of like traumatic experiences, because those did happen. But some insight to what else I do and why I can't be as active on this channel currently as I might like to be. Anyway, guys, let's get started. Enough of me rambling about rambling itself. Right away here, one of the first things that I picked up after I did my last review was this beautiful, absolutely beautiful special edition of Fire Emblem Engage. Now, I have a funny story to share about Fire Emblem here. I'm going to make all of these relatively quick because I got a lot to say here, and I don't want anyone to just tune out because I'm rambling too much. I tend to do that. The coffee's not helping. But I've never played a Fire Emblem game. Never played a single one. And the reason I collect so many of these games and I love them so much is honestly because my younger brother, it's one of his, if not his favorite, correct me if I'm mistaken on that. I believe it's your favorite franchise. I'm not even gonna say your name on here, dude, but if you watch this, watching my brother play these as a kid was just, it was like this window into a world of gaming that I was not familiar with at the time. In fact, JRPGs in general were something that I didn't really play as a very young child. And I watched him play the Tales of series as well as Fire Emblem incessantly. And I just fell in love with the art style. I think that I was able to kind of backseat enough of it to feel like I had a grasp of what was going on here. To be honest, when it comes to like turn-based strategy type games, or not turn-based games I can do, but when it comes to like actual strategy, I'm not really there for it. So one of these days I will finally play a Fire Emblem game, but in the meantime, I haven't even opened this yet because, you know, collectors and stuff. But it's just like a beautiful, absolutely beautiful box art. Like, I mean, it's magnificent. And it does have like a steelbook and all these cool other little things. And so I had to snag it, dude. Like, it's sweet. Yeah, I don't have a lot to say about Fire Emblem because I've never played it. From what I gathered, this is almost like a celebration for the Fire Emblem fans. There's a lot of like cameo appearances from past games and stuff. So I think a lot of it would just go way over my head. Maybe someday, right? Another game that I picked up and I haven't played and I immediately just put in the backlog category is Octopath Traveler 2. Now, normally when it comes to JRPGs like this, when it comes to Square Enix titles in general, if I'm not going to play it right away, I will wait because they generally will fall down to like $30 or so that Black Friday. Just a tip for you guys that don't need to buy this game yet. But I really wanted the steelbook. I'll be honest. Like, I saw the steelbook and I was like, I'm not going to get that later if I wait. So I bought it. I do have, I guess I'll just grab it from over there. I do have the collector's edition of the original Octopath Traveler. Hang on a sec. Original Octopath Traveler. And I can say a few words about the series as a whole. Back in, I believe it was 2018, when the Switch was still relatively new in its life cycle, this was like the first take of the 2D, 3D style of games that we're starting to see more and more frequently. It was kind of done in the vein of the older Final Fantasy games on the Super Nintendo. I played the crap out of this game, and I do love the series, so I will play the sequel eventually when I get to it. Just not right now. But this one here, the only thing that everybody kind of had a complaint about was the fact that it centers around 8 different characters. You're able to pick whatever one you want, and they all have their own little stories. The only downside to that is that those stories really don't connect. There's no one goal these characters are all trying to accomplish or anything. So it just kind of felt a little meh towards the end. The gameplay was great, the music was phenomenal, the visuals were just beautiful, especially if you have a nostalgic taste for that older genre of gaming. Great series, absolutely. And this special edition was like a diorama. I'm not sure if you're going to be able to see too much of this, but it's like one of those pop-out books, so it's pretty expensive to try to find one of these now. I picked it up back in 2018 on a whim, and glad I did. So yeah, Octopath Traveler 2, one of these days, right? Now the reason I can't take on another JRPG is, me personally, and this isn't like a new game pickup, and I don't think I showed this here, is I've been playing Persona 5 Royal on the Switch incessantly. I absolutely love this freaking game. It took me a little bit to get it started, because I think I was still playing Xenoblade when I picked this up. But, absolutely incredible game. I remember back when this game released initially, and I was so upset, and everyone on the Switch fan base that was a fan of JRPGs wanted this game to come as quickly as possible, and we waited so freaking long. And finally it came. By the time it came, I already had a backlog going, so I couldn't start it right away. But I'm very excited to be able to finally play a Persona game. It is a magical experience. It's like playing an anime, but better. I don't know, any Persona fan on here will 100% know what I'm talking about when I say that the story and just the gameplay, like it's almost, I mean, it's done not in the vein of Pokemon, because technically Persona, the series as a whole, is a sub-series of Shin Megami Tensei, which is actually, it's a series that predates Pokemon, and anyway, it's still a monster catching mechanic game, but it's much more in depth, and the menu system, just the entire UI integration of it, it's very seamless. I'm going to show you guys this steelbook real quick. Absolutely beautiful, though. So it is so nice to have this guy in the collection, and it's been great playing it. Now, on to another game. Again, this is just like quick wrap-ups here, guys. But another game that I think in one of my Nintendo Direct, I know that in one of my Nintendo Direct videos, predictions, months and months ago, I had talked about how there was a leak for a potential Metroid Prime remake, and obviously I didn't discover that leak, but I was so sure it was going to be a thing based on everything I was reading. Everybody was. And we didn't see it for quite some time. Then, this last Nintendo Direct, freaking Nintendo comes out and shadow drops Metroid Prime Remastered. Now, in the future, I'm going to have to do a whole video just outlining this game as a whole. Not just Metroid Prime, but how much effort they put into this remaster, which is more of a remake than anything, because the entire game is redone. Like, it's absolutely magnificent. And just to give a few thoughts on it, it's kind of funny because when I initially played Metroid Prime back in 2002, I was a kid, and I had never played any other Metroid games prior to that. It wasn't until later in my adult life, I guess, well, no, when I want to say 10 years old, I played Zero Mission on the Game Boy Advance, and I guess to correct myself again, I did play the original Metroid on the NES, but just very briefly, because that game was so freaking hard that my 7-year-old body and mind could not handle it. But I wasn't familiar with the series, I guess I would say. So when I initially played Metroid Prime back in 2002, I kind of took it at face value, whereas now, having played the entire series as a whole, front to back, Metroid 1, 2, 3, 4, and Metroid Dread last year, I'm really able to have this concept of what Metroid is as a character, or who Samus is as a character, and what Metroid is as a game series, right? How it's supposed to play out in its side-scroll presentation, if you will. Metroid Prime is a great example of a game that, from that era, that they took into the 3D universe and did not screw up at all. Like, you feel like Samus, it feels like 2D Metroid, but it's not. It's so hard to explain, but they nailed this game so well. And this remaster is just freaking beautiful, dude. Like, absolute 10 out of 10. I'm having a blast playing this game. Just incredible. Incredible. Now, I'm going a little quicker than I thought I would on these, so I'm not super nervous about time. I'm going to try to take a deep breath here and slow down a little bit. But another thing that I picked up recently... Ooh, okay, slowing down a little too far. Another thing I picked up recently is some 3DS titles, actually. And these just came on a whim. I picked up a bunch of amiibos. You guys know me and amiibos. And one of the guys on my collectors groups happened to need a Sephiroth, and I think it was a different file. Corrin Player 2 was the other one that he needed that I ended up getting duplicates of. So he reached out to me. We ended up doing a trade, all these things. That's one of the beautiful things about having like this collectors and traders community, is these little wholesome agreements that I come to, like this one here. But I picked up a few 3DS titles. I happened to not own Animal Crossing for the 3DS. I never played it, so I was like, cool, why not? And there's a point to me showing these, because this isn't like a cool collector flex or anything. I've picked up a ton of retro games in the last few months. It would take hours for me to go over them, honestly, but there's a reason for this. So outside of that, I also picked up this one that I was super excited about, which is Shovel Knight on the 3DS. Shovel Knight is obviously an incredible game for those of you that have not played it, but the 3DS one specifically has 3D visuals, and I really wanted that physical copy. I just think it's sweet. I think, it's the initial release of Shovel Knight with Nintendo, so I just think it's cool. Also, Super Street Fighter 4, for no other reason other than the fact that this holographic sleeve is freaking dope. I just love stuff like that. Yeah. So the reason I'm bringing up these 3DS games, guys, is because, PSA warning, the Wii U and Nintendo 3DS eShop are closing at the end of this month. Like for real skis, like they're closing for good. So any games that you want to get on those eShops, any downloadable content, any games that you want to re-download, do it now. Like just do it right now. It doesn't matter. Don't try to save a buck. Like, there's tons of sales going on. You can get a ton of amazing games for anywhere from $5 to $20. Fill those libraries up, guys. Like, yes, you can always hack your consoles down the road or whatever it is you plan on doing, but I really don't recommend that. Like, not only because, like, pirating is not great, but also because they're not going to run the same. Like, they're just not. Like, I'm sorry. Pirating is not the answer. It's never going to be. So download those games, guys. 3DS and the Wii U are beautiful consoles that deserve to be cherished. Don't let your library go to waste. Especially not if it's like a cheap downloadable DLC that costs $3. Or a free DLC that you just forgot to download. Get on that, you guys. Highly recommend it. Okay. Alright. I guess that's pretty much everything in the gaming category that I've picked up recently. The other game that I've been playing recently, I will say though, that I don't have a physical copy to show here, is I met this beautiful new friend recently, and we've been starting to play Final Fantasy XIV on my PC, her on her PC as well, obviously. I've never played an MMO before, so I'm not familiar at all with it. But I will say that having someone that is like familiar with that sort of thing and being able to enjoy that with them has been an absolutely beautiful experience. She's also kind of been here on the sidelines enjoying me gushing over games in the last few months. She's recently been watching me get confused and envying my younger self while dying in Metroid. So it's been a pretty cool pretty cool, wholesome little thing there. I will say Final Fantasy XIV as a whole is something we haven't been able to dive a whole lot into, but I imagine that in the future it's going to decay my backlog even further. But I'm enjoying every minute of it, I will say that. So yeah, it's just something else that I've been doing. I gotta take a sip of this coffee here. I guess I should say I want to, because clearly I don't need to. The last thing I'm gonna show you in terms of physical things is we're gonna open this package together. Now, there's something in this package that I'm extremely excited about, and you're probably gonna not be, but here we go. We have none other than Amiibos! Oh, did you really think anything else would come out of this box? I mean, come on, guys. But yeah, so they just recently, just like a few days ago, announced that they were going to be reprinting like 5 of the Super Mario Amiibos from way back in the day in celebration for the March 10th, which is Mario Day, for those of you that aren't familiar with the concept. I'm kind of curious. So this is interesting, because this is definitely a reprint from way back in the day. But it's still advertising Mario Party 10, which means they didn't change the packaging at all. That's kind of neat. But from a collector standpoint, I'm a little bummed, because I was hoping I would be able to differentiate these ones and just have them as the 2023 release. But it's still rad. Absolutely rad. I freaking love Amiibos, dude. Me being me, I'm still waiting on the other 3, which are Donkey Kong, Bowser, and Luigi were the other ones that were announced and re-released. But yeah, I honestly didn't have any of these Super Mario Amiibos at all. Because I'll be totally honest, like I feel like in terms of Amiibos, like they're kind of basic. So back in the day when they were releasing and my wallet wasn't, close to being infinite in terms of adult money, I didn't just want to buy a bunch of Mario figures, because I have a bunch of just like regular Mario figures. But yeah, super stoked to have these in the collection. I love Amiibos. So yeah. Now that we've done all that, guys, and I've ranted and I've gushed, man, I can't believe I didn't pick these up back in the day. Anyway, I've ranted and I've gushed and I've shaken a little bit from what is clearly close to a caffeine overdose. I just want to say a few words about what I've been dealing with in my life and why I'm not quite as active as I would like to be here on this channel. So first of all, guys, my 9-to-5 job is extremely intense. I work in a psychiatric facility with teenagers. I love my job. I have a huge heart for mental health. I spoke about that quite extensively on the channel here. But, when it comes time for my weekend, sometimes I just can't talk, like literally. I have to have a full couple days to decompress and also just work out. But that's a big component right there. The other thing, guys, is that in terms of content creation, this is far from the only platform that I create content on. Outside of this, recently, this has been like a slow building process, but I've been doing a lot of things in like the fitness, bodybuilding community, and acquiring a ton of like sponsorships and stuff through that. And honestly, like that side of my content creation is very lucrative, like extremely so.
Yeah, that's right. What's next? What's next? What's next? What's next? What's next?
So I'll be totally honest, like when it comes time for me to set up my camera and record something, like I kind of am stuck in this sense of like, well, one of these things is gonna make me money and one of these things is not. And if I had infinite time, I would obviously do both, because this for me is very therapeutic. But yeah, guys, right now I'm at a point in my life where I have to prioritize, and I apologize for that. But yeah, that being said, like, this is still my passion project, and this is still, like I said, very therapeutic for me. I do hope that in the future I'm able to kind of turn the other side of my content creation into a more passive form of income, and then when I'm able to do that, it's all guns blazing in terms of this YouTube channel. It's kind of a pie in the sky dream for me right now, so who knows if we'll ever get there, but that's just me being completely transparent with you. Now, finally, the last thing I want to mention is just where we're at in gaming right now is honestly what got me so hyped to drink a cup of freaking super strong coffee and rant on YouTube here. Is where we're at in gaming right now, guys, is absolutely magnificent. Like, we just got a remake of a GameCube game. Oh, let me fix the backdrop here. But we just got a remake of an iconic GameCube game. Now, at the end of this month, we're going to get Resident Evil 4 Remake, which is absolutely insane. Like, 12-year-old me would not believe that we would be getting Resident Evil 4 Remake right after Metroid Prime Remake. And then we're getting a new Zelda game the month after that. Guys, gaming is insane. Gaming is, I don't care what anyone says about gaming being dead or dying this year. This is like the coolest lineup I've seen personally since 2017. Not only that, this was all like hype brewing for the last few weeks for me. Last night, randomly, Bandai Namco decided to say that Budokai Tenkaichi 4 is going to exist, which is a game that's not going to come out probably for a couple years, but like, do you guys remember the Budokai series? Like, that shit was dope. Okay, and I'm old enough to remember Budokai Tenkaichi as being like the newer Budokais. For those of you that are watching this, which is probably like an age range of like way younger than me, Budokai Tenkaichi 3 released in 2007 on the Wii. So that's a very old game right there. But that's the last time we got a Budokai Tenkaichi. All of a sudden we're getting the fourth one. That is crazy, man. Like, that's dope. It just feels like, and I know what it is. Like, my adult marketing brain knows that, you know, all these different companies are aware that people like myself are getting close or at the age of 30 and have disposable income and can buy all these things. So of course they're going to sell them to us. But dude, it's so freaking hype, and I'm so excited. I'm so happy to be a gamer, and I can't wait till my time opens up a little bit more to whittle down this backlog and also just to share some more experiences with you guys here. Anyway, guys, that is the gist of my video today. There's no real point here. Next week, maybe not next week. I don't want to give timelines anymore because it makes me nervous and I get anxiety and then I just don't do anything. But the next thing I do want to talk about is I want to share some really in-depth thoughts on the comparison between the initial release of Metroid Prime in 2002 to the 2023 release that we have today. If you haven't picked up Metroid Prime, freaking do it. The physical copies were pretty hard to get initially. I recommend getting the physical copy always for anything, but they're starting to print more copies now. So go on Amazon, go on Target, go to the store, buy that game. It's dope. And then, yeah. Let's get hyped for Resident Evil, for those of you that are Resident Evil fans. All good things, guys. Gaming is beautiful. Gaming is magical. And, yeah, I guess that's pretty much it.
Too slow. Haven't you learned anything these last 2 years?